Steve is the brother-in-law? Yes. Come forward. Thank you, Steve. Can you follow that?
That's a tough act to follow, huh?
Serious? Wow.
Wow, that was beautiful, really. Get my eyes on. First off, thank you all so much for coming today and paying your respects to Jimmy and supporting the family. I've never really seen this many people at a funeral before either. So I guess that just kind of speaks volumes about the kind of man Jimmy was and how loved he is. I didn't meet JJ till after he married Camille because I was stationed overseas at the time. And I figured if my sister married him, he's got to be a good guy. But let's face it, you never really know. But once I did meet him and I spent some time getting to know Jimmy, I knew she had made a great choice. And he was just such a good-natured guy. He just always wanted to laugh, or he wanted to make you laugh. And rarely did I ever hear him speak negatively about anybody, unless it had to do with sports and his home team. Okay? Even then, there was no real malice in his voice. But in the 30 years that I knew Jimmy, I witnessed him get angry one time. And you know what I'm talking about. Those that were there that Thanksgiving were as surprised as I was. And we all learned if Jimmy didn't want his dog fed turkey under the table, don't feed the dog turkey under the table. That was the only time I ever heard Jimmy raise his voice. JJ loved sports, and he was a tremendous athlete himself. And he graciously donated so much of his time to Coach Christopher and his teammates in whatever sport Chris was into at the time. He just loved to help others succeed, and he always kept sports in a proper perspective. He was so calm and he was so cool with the kids, and many times he kept Camille from being imprisoned while attending Chris's games. Talk about passionate, wow. Yeah. The refs knew her by her first name, let's put it that way. Jimmy was such a solid stand-up guy. I never had to worry about him messing around with Camille or gambling away all their money or getting drunk and making a fool out of himself. I mean, that just... Wait, yeah, okay. All right, maybe the latter. But hey, who of us hasn't at one time or another? I learned a long time ago that you can get a good read on someone's real disposition when they've had a few too many. And when Jimmy did, let's face it, man, he was just a blast to be around. There was no hidden anger that was going to rear its ugly head, and it was always more like, I love you, man. You know? And boy, could he dance. Wow. For a short white guy, man, he had some moves. I always wished I could dance as good as Jimmy. Now, other than enjoying, a few rum and cokes at the appropriate times, there wasn't a whole lot of drama with Jimmy. He made all the holidays and family functions so much better just by being there. You always knew what you were going to get with him. Just a sweet, fun-loving guy. And talk about being selfless and tough. I mean, when someone is diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, they're usually given 6 months, maybe a year. And Jimmy fought it off for 2.5 years. And I'm sure like anybody in his position, he was fighting for his own mortality. But this last year, and especially the last several months, he was hanging in there for Camille and his children. When I last saw him in December, he was really just a shell of himself at that time. My first thoughts when I saw him were, man, it's time for you to let go and leave your body. But JJ knew that if he hung in there till March 1st, Camille would receive some extra money from their insurance policy. And Camille didn't care about the money. Camille was telling him, it's okay, you can leave anytime you want. But that was not Jimmy's will. regardless of the hell he was going through, he was going to make it till March 1st. And that is, of course, the day that he did pass on. So that encapsulated Jimmy's life to me. You know, he was a giver, not a taker. He was always looking to do for others. Now, death is viewed in many different ways on this planet, depending on your beliefs. And I've come to believe that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, and when death comes, it's just a transition back to spirit. And I was relieved when I got the call that day. I was so happy for JJ that he was free again and the suffering was over. But then the stark reality of someone that I love dearly, knowing that they won't be there anymore, to grace us with their presence. And I just won't hear that infectious laugh of his anymore, and the way he used to call me Stevie Ray. You know, just to be able to talk to Jimmy about things in a way only Jimmy could. So it was very difficult for all of us who watched what Jimmy went through. And now we have to deal with his absence. But what gives me some measure of peace right now is that Jimmy's spirit will always be with us. We'll always be able to think about the times we had with him, and those thoughts will always bring a smile to our face and a joy to our hearts. Now, I wish I had a rum and coke right now so I could do a proper toast to JJ, but I don't, so I'm going to use this. So here's to you, Jimmy Mack. I love you, brother. Thank you for everything you did for us. You will always be loved and cherished and never forgotten. So I'll see you on the other side.